Welcome to the latest episode of the National Leadiology Association podcast. Today we have a special guest. I met this gentleman about a year ago, and we've had multiple conversations. And I'm sure you all are going to enjoy his story and what he brings. I really love what he's about. This is Mr. Patrick Hart. And we're going to talk about his journey hustling to the top. Patrick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm happy to be here. Listen, it has been like a year. You and I, we kind of been on this hustle journey together, kind of crossing path. And then, we found that opportunity to collaborate a couple of times in 2024. And here we are continuing to collaborate in 2025. So it's awesome to be here on the show. I'm grateful for the collaboration that you and I have. And I'm just looking forward to, a successful 2025. So, that's my intro. But a little bit about me, man. Let's go all the way back, dude. So
Yeah.
people can understand, who I am and this hustler journey and everything that I'm about. So I'm a Texas kid through and through, born and raised in Austin, which is the capital of Texas. So I already grew up with the complex, right? That, I'm supposed to be this shit. And so that was already in the back of my head. But, as a kid, you're growing up and you're seeing like, I was raised by a single mom. I want to point that out too. So single black female, very strong. Because me and my brother were 5.5 years apart. And just watching her struggle, I realized in life, I didn't want that to be my life as well. Even though I was part of, her life, I didn't want that to be my life when it comes to the end of the day. So, I'm looking around and I'm like, man, what can I do? How can I be different? How can I get myself out the hood, so to speak, right? Even though I grew up in a major metropolitan location, there's still hoods in these locations, right? So how can I get out the hood and we're not living on government assistance and, waiting for someone to drop off presents around Christmas because mom couldn't afford, to give us those presents or whatnot. And so for me, I've always been just passionate about just doing something greater than, the economical situation in which I came from. And so it was very important to me. And so when I was going through this journey through high school and, I was like, okay, I wanted to go to college, but I knew my mom couldn't afford to send me to college and she only had a high school education. So the two of us together, we were just the blind leading the blind, so to speak, because she wasn't going to help me with college applications because she didn't know that, right? And so I was
Wow,
clueless on it because she didn't know that either, right? And so you're just kind of you're dealt the hand that you have, but is what do you do when you dealt the when you're dealt with this hand, right? And so mentally, I think what separated me from so many other people is that mentally I was determined that I wanted more for myself. So it was very important to me. So here I am. I'm in high school. I was like, dude, okay, what can I do? Had a couple of buddies of mine. They ended up joining the military, and they were trying to persuade me to join the military too. And I was like, dude, who wants to join the military and why? Right? That's the last thing that I wanted to do.
yep.
But I ended up joining the military.
There you go.
And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. So here I am getting ready to transition out of high school. I joined the military. I decided to sign up. I was like, okay, well, Patrick, be smart about this. If you're going to join the military, you better do something where you have a useful skill that you can use it when you get out, right? And I ended up being a helicopter mechanic. I was like, okay, I can do that. If I ever got out of the military, I could become a helicopter mechanic and make great money. That was my belief. And so I joined the military. I spent 6 years in the Army. I had an amazing opportunity to explore the world. And this is what's transformative for me. It opened up my mind to, even though I struggled, there's other people that not only look like me, that were similar to me, that struggled too in other parts of the world. And then the way they struggled even more than what I struggled. And so that empowered me to say, you know what? If they're living like this and I was living like that, there's another level of living that I can reach, right? And so joined the military, got to see the world. I learned a whole lot about leadership. I learned a whole lot about empowering people. I learned a whole lot about, connectivity, how to motivate people in the military. But then I decided, you know what? Why fix these darn things when you can fly them, right? So I was like,
Yep.
okay, let's go to flight school. And so as I was transitioning out of the military, I got accepted to Spartan School of Aeronautics in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So
Ooh.
shout out Spartan School of Technology. And as I was transitioning out of the military, I also ended up getting married. So a little bit about, my family. My wife, she had two kids. I had one. Together, here we are. We had three kids. We're married. I'm moving to a state that I've never lived in before. I'm about to start school that I've never attended before. And now, all of a sudden, I have no income. I was like, okay, wow, this is interesting. I never really thought about the income piece. I had my vision set on I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be a pilot. I bought this house sight unseen. We did like a virtual tour online. We flew up to Tulsa, Oklahoma. The first time I seen the house is when we closed on it, which was amazing, right? It was crazy. With it, we're just talking about chapters in life.
Yep.
And so here we are. This is around 2002. This is 2002. I ended up getting in the military in 2002. So in 2002 is when I moved up to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was actually Broken Arrow, which is a suburb of Tulsa. And we closed on a house. And then I realized, okay, I can't afford to go to school anymore because I have no income and I have these mouths to feed and I have this mortgage. So, Patrick, what are you going to do now? And I'm sitting there scratching my head. And back then, we had newspapers, right? You look in the newspaper, you're like, okay, looking for jobs, circling some. And there's several jobs that I applied for that didn't get the position. I was like, okay, too green. I got this military background. I'm still speaking this military jargon, right? And it's hard to connect. It takes a minute to connect with the civilian world after you come out of the military, because everything you say, your euphemisms, your phrases, everything is different from the civilian world, right? And so that took me a minute to kind of adjust to that. And I ended up landing in the mobile home industry. So a great thing about, Texas as well as Oklahoma, we have a lot of land. We have a lot of space. We have a lot of people that look at housing differently than a lot of parts of the world. And in that different look, they look at the mobile home as a full-time house. Like these are full structures that were made in factories. They're just assembled in a factory and then brought out to your property and then secured on land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up doing that. I got promoted. That brought me back down to Texas. I ended up being a general manager. And then in being a general manager, I was overseeing several sales centers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And it was great. So here I was, this young kid. At this time, I'm like, late 20s. I'm making six figures in late 20s selling mobile homes. Honestly, between you and I, man, I thought this was going to be what I did forever. I absolutely loved it. I love the people. I love the culture. I love making money, right? And that's what I was about. But then we fast forward to 2007, the recession hit.
Woo.
And then by 2008, dude, my income was cut in half. I was like, dude, okay, I can't sit here and do the same thing over and over again, expecting something different.
Yep.
By this time, I had already pivoted from going to Spartan School of Aeronautics to going to University of Phoenix. Ended up getting my bachelor's degree, and I was doing this online while raising a family and going to school full time. And then I decided, you know what? I'm looking around, I'm looking at myself, I'm like, you know what, Pat, you're black, dude. And being black, if I'm going to be successful in this market, I needed to separate myself from everybody else. And that separation for me was continuing on with my education. So I ended up getting my master's degree as well. Also got my master's degree from, University of Phoenix. So shout out University of Phoenix. Hey, thanks for coming through. and so I ended up getting my master's degree. I was like, okay, this is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Black master's degree. And now I'm on this path of growth and leadership. And what can I do as I'm pivoting out from, the mobile home industry? And then I found healthcare. And beginning of 2009, it was a sales and marketing position for a healthcare company, which the healthcare company has since renamed. A lot of that happens through acquisitions or whatnot in the healthcare space. Yep. And I was just pretty much helping families and seniors transition from a home-based setting to a community-based setting, right? Yep. And so there's a big conversations that you need to have. There's a lot of hand-holding. There's a lot of crying with families because they don't know what to do. And I realized that I was really good at it, like listening to people, and more than anything is helping be a solution. And that's what it was all about, being a solution. And so in my solution making, I came from an industry that if you're not selling anything, then you're not making anything. You're not making any money because it was like 100% commission, right? Yep. And in this industry, okay, I got a salary and you give me commission. Say less. Man, I'm about to go for it. I'm about to get it. And so that's what I ended up doing. I ended up starting out in independent living, sales and marketing. And I was like, healthcare is really great. I kind of like this. This is something that I can see myself building a career with. So I continued to explore. I gained more skills. I went from independent living to picking up assisted living. And then from assisted living, I picked up memory care skills, understanding how to connect with families and talk about dementia related, things like that. And then I picked up skills with skilled nursing. Then we started talking about Medicare Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, helping families really realize, the cost and how do you pay for this care that, we're trying to, give to our loved ones. And so by I would say end of 2014, I was like, okay, this is great. But honestly, if I can be honest with you, man, are you fine with me being honest with you?
Absolutely, man. Go
Okay. If
for
I
it.
can be honest with you, I'm sitting here in this health and marketing space, right? And senior living. And I realized that a lot of the opportunities that I wanted for myself, I was being passed over for them. And I felt like it was because of how I looked. And it's not because I feel like I'm a good looking guy and all that. But in that industry at that time, a lot of the people that was getting promoted, you either had to have blue eyes and blonde hair, and the skin was different for me. I was like, okay, this is not cool. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm out working, I'm out selling, I had the accolades to go for it. So let's do something different, right? And so I found healthcare technology. So I wanted to stay in a space, but now I found healthcare technology. And I was like, okay, bingo, this is it right here. And I started that healthcare technology role in a leadership position. I was a VP, vice president, overseeing a large business unit. I had over 8,000 customers across the United States. I oversaw, man, it would have to be somewhere between 40, 50 people. I had a development team that was in Chennai, India, that had a team within itself for over 25 people. Scrum masters, we're talking about solutions consultant. It was a large role for me, extremely large role, but I was grateful for it and I was looking forward to that opportunity.
Yep.
So here we are. I'm with this technology company. I'm learning new things. I'm getting uncomfortable because I felt like, I've always heard that you have to get uncomfortable to grow. You have to get uncomfortable to grow. So I'm getting uncomfortable, right? And I'm learning new things and we're positioning ourselves. And one of the things I was really, really good at, as I shared with you before, is connecting with people, listening to people, understanding their problems, being a solution provider, right?
Yep.
And so I did that really, really well in the tech space. And so as we fast forward, 3 years, 3.5 years later, we sold that company for a large sum of money. And, to be frank and honest with you, we sold that company for $750 million, which was at the time for what we were doing was well above what everybody else was selling companies for. And so as a leader on the team, I had, equity in the company. And so when the company sold, I was able to cash out. Since then, I've been on this journey to try to impact and inspire other people that look like me, realize that, you know what, you can accomplish whatever you put your mind to, but it is going to take some networking. It is going to take getting uncomfortable, and it is going to take you putting yourself in positions that's going to help you grow. So, that's kind of me, even though you didn't ask for all of that, 20 minutes later, that's who I am, man, from a very high level. And I'm excited to be here. I love talking to people like you. And then, the audience that listens to your podcast and follow your show, because these are all people who want more in life. And those are the people that I'm trying to reach.
That's
So
awesome.
that's me, man.
Yeah, man. So I was taking notes while you were talking, and we're gonna dive into a few of these
Yeah.
topics on purpose. One of the things that really I'll start from the beginning of the conversation
Yeah.
when we talked about going from the military and trying to adjust, assimilate into society. Uh, that's big, man, because I've heard it from multiple friends of mine that are veterans and that they've had family members that were veterans is that transition period. That transition period is vital and it's very hard because I'm not sure how the military functions because I'm not a veteran, but
Right.
are there programs or resources that you can go to that'll help you assimilate into society from the military?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. There is programs in place. And I think even back when I was transitioning out of the military, remember, I was in during 9/11. So I
Yep.
remember tying my shoe, getting ready to go. I was either getting ready to go to PT. No, I was coming back from PT, which is physical training. So I was untying my shoe, and then I saw that second plane hit into, to the building in New York, the
Yeah.
towers.
Yep.
But there's programs. But the thing is, most young kids, you don't know about the program, or you're too overly excited about, what the next chapter in life is going to be, that you're not taking full use of those programs. And but that transition is very difficult because you're faced with a choice when you're in the military. I knew, like, being a career in the military, that wasn't for me. I wanted to get my 6 years, earn
Yep.
my skills, and then go out and do something different, right? Because that was my passion. But a lot of people are career oriented, so more power to you because we need you in the military. But for those of you that are in the military or you've transitioned out of the military, what happens is, first thing first is all the self-doubt comes in. 100%. All the self-doubt. Like, dude, you're not going to make it when you get out of the military. You
Mhm.
have this nice salary. You get paid twice a month on the 1st and the 15th. You got all these lovely benefits. You get out, you're going to fail, right? And then, one, you tell that to yourself. Two, other people around you, they start telling you that same thing as well. And then when you actually get out of the military, that self-doubt creeps back in again. And you start listening to those friends telling you, guess what? Yeah, it wasn't going to work. And so there was a time when I originally got out of the military, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go back into the military because it was a safety net. I
Yep.
had a routine, I had a steady check. I knew I can get approved for, a car loan or whatever, things like that, because, there's systems in place to help help veterans or, service members reach new levels of success. But it wasn't the kind of success that I was trying to reach. So long story short, there are programs, man. But at the time, either I wasn't aware about it or I wasn't focused on it because I was focused on the next chapter in my career.
Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned all of that because it just reminds me of a lot of the work that I do in having the right mindset.
Yeah,
So, as we grow up, we are told all the time, and doesn't matter how you grow up, what your background is. We're told from little, you can't do this, or
right.
you're gonna fail at that. So our mindset, our I should say, our subconscious is fed everything that we cannot do or we should not do. And because that is fed into it, that's how we start living our life
Yep.
is with those limiting beliefs that, we can only do this. So we get put into a box like this is what we can do and cannot do. And that is hard because as we grow older, we'll realize, well, hold on a second, you know, why are people telling me what I can and cannot do? And why am I telling myself, more importantly, what I can and cannot do? It's because of that. And then we have to do some work into retraining our subconscious and doing daily routines that help us develop the right mindset so that we can be successful.
Totally agree with you. 100%.
So in your journey, we see a lot of resilience, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? And then what does that mean in leadership? So two questions.
No, it's a good question. So resilience to me is the opportunity to realize that, you know what, when I hit the ground, now I have a choice. I can either stay on this ground or I can pick myself back up,
Yep.
right? And then when I pick myself back up, am I going to do the same thing that I did before that led me to hit the ground, right? And so resilience is understanding in those situations that allow you to propel and move forward. And I think it was the first part. What was the second part of the question?
Resilience in leadership. So we'll
Yeah.
fast forward to your leadership positions and,
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about that.
First, let's say this, not everybody is meant to be a leader. And you probably worked for people before, and maybe even yourself early on in your young career, you realize that you're just horrible as a leader. So, being a leader is a learned art. A
Mm.
lot of people think leaders are born. I think leaders may have traits, within themselves. I think everybody has some sort of traits that you can explore and you can actually build and develop from and form in them into, a different version of themselves, right?
Yes.
And there's many different types of leaders. You got charismatic leaders, you got energetic leaders, right? And you have very demanding leaders. You have people that are detailed. You got people that are just, they're just, they're the people that light up the room or whatever. I was one of those people that I was very jovial, as a leader because I didn't want a situation to be too big to put pressure on the employees to where they feel like, you know what, either I don't like Patrick or I'm fearful of the situation that we're getting ready to go through. So I was a jovial person. I like to make light of everything. But at the same time, what I learned early on in my career as a young leader is that it's so important to be hard on the process, but soft on the people.
I love
And
that.
and what that really means
Process
is
solving the people.
hard on the process, but soft on the people. And really, what that means is if there's a process in your organization, your job as a leader is to carry out that process through the fullest, to ensure that every single team member not only understands the process, but they're following the process, right?
Yep.
And then that's one part. The second part of the leader is to really get to know your team,
Ah,
really, really get to know your team on a personal level. And so that
preach.
means yeah, I mean, sitting down with them, having lunch with them, knowing their kids' first and last name, knowing their birthdays, knowing their anniversary dates, really building a connection in there, right?
Yep.
Building trust. And so, as a leader, being jovial, focusing on the process, and then knowing my people, it was a lot easier for me to mentor, to mold, and get things accomplished as a leader. Because now I'm coming to you from a place of love, from
Yep.
a place to let you know that, you know what, Dr. Amin, this is something that we got to get done. And I
Yep.
don't want this done yesterday. I need this done today. And I'm very direct in that moment, but they understand it's coming from a place because we got a job to do, just like the military. We got a job to do. So
Yep.
it has to get done. You
Mhm.
signed up for this. It's just the approach in your leadership to how you communicate what needs to be done. So, from a resilience standpoint and being a leader, you have to understand, in my opinion, you have to go and make those mistakes in those leadership positions where you've having conversations and it just didn't go well, and you walk away and you feeling, man, that could have went better. Well, how can I learn from that? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or I've had situations before where I couldn't build a connection with individuals where they actually called HR and said, you know what? I just don't like Patrick's, management or leadership style. And, you kind of work through that. So all those for me is just understanding that becoming a leader and building resilience is a process even for yourself. So as a leader, you're holding your team to a process, but you also need to be holding yourself as a leader to a process, understanding that you don't know everything, but it's up to you to figure it out, especially if you're going to be effective.
Oh, those were powerful words
Yeah.
there. When you said, coming to the realization that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Oh man, because there's so many leaders that you see out there that talk a big game, like they know everything, and then you're not relatable to people.
Right.
And that then you can't lead people if you're not relatable to people, right?
Nobody wants to know it all. You know what I'm saying? That person that knows every freaking thing. I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm glad you brought that up because there's many times in my leadership journey, I straight up tell you, hey, Dr. Me, I don't have the answer for that.
Hmm.
But go figure it out and let me know what you find. You know what I'm saying? So you can share with the team. And then we can get together and have, a webinar on what you found out. So now not only do you know, the whole team knows. And I think that's another part about being a leader too, is some leaders want to retain so much information and they don't want to give it back to the
Oh man,
people that they're in charge of.
there's no point in that.
Like, what's the point? How are you building your team? You can't. So,
You can't. Well, let's fast forward to
okay.
today.
Okay.
Um, so tell us a little bit about a couple of things that I'm interested in. And I know we both did an interview for your Hustle newsletter. Hustle 25A. What the name? Where's the origin of the name?
Yeah.
And tell the audience a little bit about the newsletter, and then we'll get into PDP Media.
Yeah. Thank you for the platform. So, Here I am now, transitioning healthcare executive, starting my own company, which is PDP Media. And what a lot of people don't know, and it's going to be breaking news, I've only shared it here on this show,
Oh,
is PD,
wow.
only on this show. This is the first time that it's ever out there. PDP Media actually stands for People Dig People. So People Dig People Media, because I think people buy from people resonate with people buy from people, right? So PDP Media is that it's a place where we can vibe together and grow together, right? So that's what PDP Media is about. But building out PDP Media, I wanted to have multiple touch points where I can connect with people in different ways. So a part of PDP Media is my Hustle newsletter, right? You go to my website, you're going to see the Hustle newsletter. And I came up with Hustle 25/8 because it's what it feels like we're doing in life. It feels like we're always on the hustle because most of us, we're not rich unless if you are, you may be hustling in a different way. But for people that's like me, that came from a broken economical background, who came from a broken family, I've always felt like I was hustling towards something, right?
Yep.
And so I wanted to gravitate and connect with the people who feel the same as me. So
Mhm.
that's what Hustle 25/8 is, meaning the hustle never stops. We're hustling past 24 hours. We're grinding all day, all night. And in that Hustle 25/8 newsletter, what I do is I spotlight people like you and I that are on that hustler's journey, people who've been through some things to accomplish where they are, people
Yep.
who are interested into achieving a level of success from other thought leaders that are spotlighted. I just wanted to create a platform where you learn from others. And if you truly listen to what they're saying, you may find an opportunity that, you know what, Dr. Amin, he grew up, in the Dominican Republic and moved to New York at one of the craziest times, that the United States has ever faced, lived in a small apartment, got bullied as a kid, overcome stuttering, and then also overcame, the language barrier to reach a level of success that, people wouldn't have never dreamed. That's powerful. So
Yep.
telling those stories, man, that's what I like to do is just help people tell the story. So that's what Hustle 25/8 is about, and that's what the newsletter is about.
Yep, yeah. So, our audience, please go in there, listen to the stories in the Hustle 25/8. You will love some of these stories. They're amazing. They're powerful. They're very engaging, and engage with the people so that we can have bring out those success stories for others to look at. Let's be role models in that way. Um,
I agree because there's enough negativity on social media nowadays, man. You open up your threads, first thing is going to be it's someone fighting, someone being burnt on a freaking bus. Like what? Come on, man, or a train. Like I'm not trying to watch for the people that's like me that you kind of want to mute the negativity and you want to increase your positivity. I would
yep.
say give me a follow, join the Hustle newsletter, or tag in with PDP Media. I got
Yep.
you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Make sure you guys do that. So you've gone in this journey, right?
Yeah.
Coming from, single family, a single parent home, had to hustle all the way to the top. Uh,
Yep.
what are some key strategies that you want to talk about for people, for leaders specifically, that'll help them get to wherever they want to be at in their journey?
Yeah, there's multiple. So I'm not going to put them in any kind of order, but I
Sure.
would tell you this, be curious on a daily basis.
Oh,
Curiosity, they say kills the cat, but curiosity grows your career. And what I mean by being curious is, I was always one of those people. I wanted to know what's happening behind that door. I want
yep.
to know what's happened behind that door because I realized a lot of decisions that were being made wasn't in the door that was in front of me. It was the door that was over there or the door that was up there. How do I get to there where I can be in the room helping making that decision? So curiosity is very important. The other thing too is self-investment. You have to continue to invest in yourself,
Yep.
right? And so for me, that happened to be, I told you I wanted to separate myself. I ended up getting my master's degree.
Mhm.
That was important for me. And then in addition to that, you're 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 bending the ear of the leadership team. You're wanting to be curious about what did they do to get there? What are they talking about? How can they help you develop and grow? Right. So those are important things. So we're talking about self-development, being curious, the investment into yourself, and then being uncomfortable. That is a true thing. If you today are someone, and I don't care if you're in healthcare or any other kind of industry, but if you look at your situation and you're comfortable, I can guarantee you right now you're not growing.
No.
You are not growing.
And if you're not growing, you're failing. I mean, it's just the reality.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, there's so much competition, and we're not just competing with ourselves. We're competing with technology now, right? We have the advancements of AI. So if you're thinking about, hey, you know what? I'm going to have this job for the next 15, 20 years. Newsflash, companies are now they're performance-based metrics. Like they have these big investors, they have these board members, they have stakeholders who are always focused on these companies growing. If you're not contributing to their growth, then you're probably not going to be there. So I'm going to tell you that. So make sure you continue to invest in yourself. Be curious, self-improvement, and then networking. Networking is crucial. I remember I jumped on LinkedIn back in 2007, and I only jumped on LinkedIn back in 2007 because my wife told me to. She was like, "You need to be on LinkedIn." I was like most people, what is LinkedIn? Why? Right? And she was telling me it was a professional networking site. And so once I jumped on and I started looking around the LinkedIn, I was like, man, there's a lot of great people here. Like you can almost have imposter syndrome just being on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And so in my industry, I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I need to do it. Let me continue to build my network. So from 2007 to here we are, 2020, 25, 18 years later, I've been kind of slowly building a network across LinkedIn. And today, if you're connected with me, I think, man, on 25, 28,000 connections on LinkedIn, another 60 plus on Instagram, another 6 or 25 on YouTube. So collectively across the board, there's over 100,000 people that I can connect with, either be influenced by or have influence over. And so that was important to me from that networking standpoint. And then ask, here's this is going to be a powerful one for me that I want to share with you. Closed mouths don't get fed. So let's just go back and say that closed mouths don't get fed. If you have aspirations of growing your career within any industry, but you haven't shared with anyone outside of your own family, like your direct supervisor or leaders within your organization, that your aspirations are to be here, you're not going to get there. People are not mind readers. Yep. They don't care about your journey unless you share it with them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that was so important for me to share people. When I interview for a role and they ask you, what does the next 5 years look like? I was serious about it. The next 5 years, not only do I want your job, but I want to know how to do the job of the person that taught you how to do your job. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of insight that I want to give you. So continuous learning, put yourself in positions, network and self-improvement, and stay curious.
Man, I love it. I love it. I wish we would have had this conversation 20 years ago. Because I know for sure. So curiosity was really important for me growing up. I was always curious. I mean, I was just the way I was a nerd growing up. So I invested a lot in myself in that sense. And then I was curious. I like trying different things. The ones that really resonate with me is the networking and closed mouth don't get fed.
You don't get
Those
fed,
two
man.
things I learned that in the last 5 years.
Right.
Just imagine that. I learned that just in the last 5 years. So
Right.
if I would have learned that 20 years ago,
Who
young
knows, right? Who knows,
young
right?
leaders, man, like listen to Patrick, man. He's spitting it right now. So take it to heart. I mean, do these things. It's important. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. You couldn't, find a mentor, find a coach. Those things are important, are powerful to really take you to the next level. The networking piece. Do all of it.
Absolutely. You have to. I mean, in this day and age, if you're not doing it, I don't know what you're gonna do, honestly. I'm afraid for you. So um, there's a powerful thing to be in your 20s and listen to your podcast. Especially if you listening with intent, with an
Yep.
outcome focused on, changing your situation. And that's the big thing too, is listening with intent. A lot of people don't listen, right? And they will hear you, but they don't really listen to you.
Yes.
And that's so important. Like I was always inspired by stories of others, just fascinated because I'm like, I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. What
Yep.
separates them from me? And for me, it just happens to be up here. So I just wanted to continue to hustle 25/8. Let's keep doing it, man.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, let's start wrapping up. What are some final thoughts that you want to leave our audience with?
Man, that's a great question. Let me see. Final thoughts. Hmm. Let's say, get uncomfortable. Let's start there, right?
Yep.
Um, invest in yourself. We'll keep going there. Stay curious. I definitely want to go there. Network. We talked about that before. Fill your mind with positive things. Change your circle. If your circle
Oh yeah.
hasn't accomplished what you want to accomplish, then it's probably not the circle you need to be in. And it's okay. A lot of us we struggle with letting go. But
Hmm.
sometimes you have to let go in order to go here.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to say no in order to give yourself peace so you can focus on what you need to do. And when I say no, that's not KNOW, NO, straight to your someone's face is telling them no. And the other thing too, a lot of us, we have these broken family dynamics where these families, they're trying to hit you up they're for money because they see that you're doing better, or they see that you're trying to change your background. Get rid of them. And that's family. I'm telling you that now. Get
Mhm.
rid of them. I'm not saying you can't talk to them anymore. What
Yep.
I'm saying, if they're taking away your focus from where you're trying to go, they need to be out of your life
Yep.
for a moment so you can focus on yourself and you can thank yourself later, because what you will do is have more time, more resources, and more energy to give back after you've taken care of yourself. And so start there. It's kind of like, we've all been on a plane, and the what do you call it? The flight attendants, they come on and they give you the instructions before you take off, and they tell you in the event of a crash, your mask is going to drop down. Make sure you put it on yourself first before you put it on your neighbor. The reason they tell you to do that is because if you don't have enough oxygen, you can't give it to somebody else. You can't save their life at all. So that's what I'm getting back to. Give yourself oxygen, and then after you've given yourself that oxygen, then you can pass it on to other people. So that's
Great.
my 2 cents.
Yeah, great knowledge. One of the things that Tanner, he's my co-host here. He couldn't make it today. We talk about is your inner circle. So one of the analogies that I love to use is your tree people, man. So you have your leaves. They'll
Yep.
be there for a season, man. They're gonna drop off, and then you're gonna get new ones.
Right.
You have your trunk. They're there for, I mean, your branches, they're there for a season or two, maybe three,
Right.
but then eventually they get broken off, they leave, and you get new ones. And then you have your root people. Those are the people, those are the people that are important to you because they're gonna be with you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Check yourself and make sure that those people are the right people for you. All right, so this has been great. We're gonna bring Patrick back so we can discuss a few other topics. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us. This is another episode from the National Leadiology Association, Patrick and his journey.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this, and I wish you continued success here in 2025 and beyond, man.
All right, be safe, everyone.